You got the job, the apartment, the relationship, the number in your bank account you used to dream about. And for about 3 days, maybe a week, it felt exactly as good as you thought it would. Then something strange happened. The feeling faded. The finish line disappeared. And you found yourself sitting in the middle of everything you worked for, wondering why it still doesn't feel like enough. Most people assume this means something is wrong with them, that they're ungrateful, that they need to want more or want less or figure out some better version of themselves. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't a character flaw, it's your brain doing something it was literally built to do. And once you understand the mechanism behind it, the emptiness starts to make a completely different kind of sense. Here's a number that should stop you cold. CEOs, people who by definition achieved what most people only dream of, experience depression at rates estimated between double and 5 times the national average. High-achieving students have been designated a formal at-risk population, with anxiety and depression rates 2 to 3 times higher than their peers. Not the people who failed, not the people who gave up, the people who won. And it's not because success attracts broken people. It's not because ambitious people are secretly miserable. And it's definitely not because they didn't work hard enough or want it badly enough. Well, it's because of a specific gap, a gap that exists inside every human brain between wanting something and having it. A gap that your brain is extraordinarily bad at closing. And the higher you climb, the more brutally that gap reveals itself. Picture this. You're 27. You've been working toward a promotion for 2 years. Late nights, skipped weekends, every performance review, every side project, every strategic conversation. All of it pointed at this one moment. And then the email comes. Congratulations. Effective immediately. You read it 3 times. You feel it. That surge, that rush, that finally. You call someone, you go out. You deserve this. And then Tuesday arrives. Same desk, same commute, same coffee. Except now there's a new pressure sitting on top of the old one, and the feeling you waited 2 years for has already started to dissolve. Sound familiar? Here's what's happening inside your brain in that moment. Your brain runs on a neurochemical called dopamine, and most people misunderstand what dopamine actually does. Dopamine is not the reward chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. Neuroscience research shows that dopamine neurons fire most intensely before a reward arrives, during the wanting, the chasing, the almost there. The moment the reward is received, dopamine activity drops sharply back to baseline. Your brain was flooding with dopamine for 2 years of pursuit. The moment you arrived, it stopped. This is why the email felt good for 3 days and hollow by Tuesday. Your brain didn't fail you. It functioned exactly as designed. The problem is, it was designed for a world where getting the thing meant survival, not for a world where getting the thing is just the beginning of the next thing. Now here's where it gets interesting, because not everyone responds to this emptiness the same way. There are 3 distinct patterns, and which one you recognize in yourself changes everything about what you should do next. Group 1, the accelerators. These are the people who feel the emptiness and immediately set a bigger goal. From the outside, it looks like ambition, like drive, like they're just wired to keep going. But what's actually happening is something psychologists call hedonic adaptation, the brain's automatic process of returning to its baseline emotional state no matter what changes around it. Studies of lottery winners show that within approximately 1 year of their win, their happiness levels had returned to where they were before. The circumstances changed completely. The brain reset anyway. If you're in this group, you've probably noticed a pattern. The gap between achieving something and feeling empty again gets shorter every time. That's not motivation. That's the treadmill accelerating. Group 2, the freezers. This group experiences the emptiness and goes quiet. They stop setting goals. They coast. From the outside, it looks like complacency, like they stopped caring. But the underlying driver is actually self-protection. If achieving the thing doesn't bring the feeling you expected, the unconscious logic becomes, why risk the effort again? Psychologists call this a learned helplessness variant. When repeated mismatches between effort and expected reward train the brain to disengage from future pursuit altogether. The paradox: the people in this group are often the ones who wanted it most. The disillusionment is proportional to the original investment. Group 3, the quietly adapted. And then there's this third group, the most misunderstood of all. They achieve something significant and feel fine, not euphoric, not empty, just fine. They move on. They don't talk about it much. People around them sometimes read this as coldness or arrogance, or like they don't appreciate what they have. But research in positive psychology suggests something completely different is happening here. These people haven't stopped caring. They've unconsciously decoupled their sense of self-worth from external outcomes, what psychologists call intrinsic self-determination. Their dopamine isn't primarily tied to the arrival, it's tied to the process. They're not emotionally flat, they're emotionally efficient. The real question isn't which group is better, it's which group you're currently operating from, and whether that's actually a choice you made or just a pattern that formed without you. Here's what's actually happening under the hood. Harvard-trained psychologist Dr. Ayat Tal Ben-Shahar, who first identified this pattern while competing as an elite squash player, gave it a name: the Arrival Fallacy. The Arrival Fallacy is the belief that once you reach a specific destination, a lasting sense of fulfillment will follow. It feels like logic. When I get X, I will finally feel Y. But the brain doesn't run on logic. It runs on prediction. Think of your brain's reward system like a GPS that's constantly recalibrating. When you set a goal, the GPS locks in. Every action, every sacrifice, every late night, all of it is generating neural signal, dopamine, forward momentum. Your brain is alive in pursuit mode. The moment you arrive, the GPS has no more route to calculate. It doesn't celebrate, it recalibrates. It looks for the next destination. This is called the hedonic treadmill. And it's not a modern affliction. It's a 200,000-year-old survival mechanism. And the humans who stayed satisfied after getting food didn't go get more food. They died. Dissatisfaction kept our ancestors alive. But here's what that mechanism costs you in 2026. Every time you set a goal framed as "when I get there, I'll be happy," you are asking your brain to do something it is neurologically incapable of doing. Not unwilling, incapable. The anticipation circuitry and the satisfaction circuitry are different systems. The anticipation circuitry and the satisfaction circuitry are different systems. Feeding one does not fill the other, and here's the part that nobody talks about in productivity culture. The higher your standards, the more you've trained yourself to achieve, the faster your brain adapts to new achievements and resets the baseline. High achievers don't experience the hedonic treadmill less. They experience it on a steeper incline. So what do you actually do with this? 3 shifts. Not a productivity framework, not a morning routine, but 3 specific rewires that work with how your brain is built, not against it. Shift 1. Audit what you're actually chasing. Most people are chasing outcomes when what they actually want is a feeling state. The promotion isn't the goal. The feeling of being seen, valued, and competent is the goal. The apartment isn't the goal. The feeling of safety, autonomy, and pride is the goal. When you identify the feeling state underneath the outcome, you can start finding it in places that don't require you to wait 2 years first. This isn't about lowering your ambitions. It's about not holding your entire emotional life hostage to a future event that your brain will adapt to in 72 hours anyway. Shift 2. Build friction into the finish line. This sounds counterintuitive. Stop celebrating the arrival. Instead, create a brief, that intentional pause between achieving something and moving to the next goal. Not a vacation, a deliberate reflection. Neuroscience shows that conscious, effortful encoding of positive experiences, actually stopping to process what happened and what it means, strengthens the neural pathways associated with satisfaction rather than just anticipation. Your brain will try to skip this step. Let it sit. The people in Group 3 aren't doing this by accident. They've trained themselves, often without realizing it, to extract the reward before the GPS recalibrates. Shift 3. Make the process the point. The most durable form of motivation neuroscience has identified is what researchers call process-based reward. Finding genuine interest, challenge, or meaning in the activity itself, independent of outcome. This doesn't mean stop caring about results. It means caring about results and building a relationship with the work that doesn't collapse when the result arrives. The goal is still the goal, but it stops being the only thing keeping you going. Psychologists sometimes describe this as the difference between a destination and a direction. Destinations run out, directions don't. Here's what I want you to take from this. The emptiness you feel after achieving something isn't ingratitude. It isn't a sign that you chose the wrong goal, the wrong career, the wrong life. It's a 200,000-year-old survival signal firing in a world it wasn't designed for, telling you to keep moving, keep building, keep going, because that is what kept your ancestors alive. The problem was never that you wanted too much. The problem is that nobody told you the wanting and the having run on completely different circuits, and that no amount of arriving will ever fully satisfy a brain that was built for chasing. There's a concept in philosophy called the asymptote, a curve that gets infinitely close to a line but never actually touches it. Your goals are not the line. You are the line. The goals are just the curve getting closer to who you're becoming, and you were never meant to stop at any of them. One question before you go. Which of the three groups did you recognize yourself in? The accelerator, who responds to the emptiness by setting a bigger goal immediately. The freezer, who pulls back and stops wanting altogether. Or the quietly adapted, who's learned somehow to find it in the doing. Drop it in the comments, because what shows up there is going to tell you something about yourself that this video couldn't fully cover. If this landed differently than you expected, that's exactly what this channel is for. Subscribe. The next one goes even deeper.